Hi students, and welcome to another e-lesson video, this one over the Great Gatsby and Modernism. As with all of these e-lesson videos, please feel free to pause at any time, rewind to get caught up or take notes. The topics in this video, we're going to talk about key facts about Gatsby, who F. Scott Fitzgerald was, and then talk a little bit about modernism. This is going to be a pretty short video from me because I've got a couple of supplementary videos I want you to watch. So, The Great Gatsby, full title is just The Great Gatsby, written by F. Scott Fitzgerald, published in 1925. It took him a couple of years to write, from 1923 to 1924, but he was already a well-known author by this point, having published a couple of works, and so it was not long between his writing till this work was published. It is set on Long Island in New York in the summer of 1922. It's basically, the novel comes full circle. From the beginning of, I shouldn't say full circle. The novel begins at the early days of summer and ends with the first couple of days of autumn. So it takes place over one summer. The genre, this is fiction. It is a novel. It is a modernist novel. More on what that means in a minute. And it is one of our Jazz Age novels. One of the novels to come out of the Jazz Age. F. Scott Fitzgerald was born in 1896 in St. Paul. He died in 1940, did not live a very long life, did not live well. He died in Hollywood. When I say he did not live well, you'll see what I mean in a minute when you watch another video. He was an alcoholic, lived in excess, and so he died of a heart attack at a relatively early age. Some of his best known works, his first published novel, This Side of Paradise, received immediate public success, made him a wealthy man overnight, literally. The Beautiful and the Damned was a follow-up novel that he wrote, received some success, but not quite as much as This Side of Paradise. After Beautiful and the Damned came Gatsby. I don't have that listed on here because it's what we're reading, which was by far his most successful book. And everything since then just kind of went downhill. Tender in the Night, while a decent book, was his last well-known work, and it did not receive nearly as much acclaim as Gatsby. So we have a guy who lived kind of who peaked very early in his novel writing career and just never found that success again. During his novel writing career, he wrote hundreds of short stories, many of them very, very good, but written just to kind of support his novel career. He published them in literary magazines and made a tidy income on that. Some of the common themes that Fitzgerald explores in his novels, he was writing during the Jazz Age, and with that, a lot of writers exploring the harms of social modernity, as in how social behaviors were being modernized during the 20s. How social roles were changing, social norms were changing, that sort of thing, and the kind of the harms that can do on those individuals not really capable of keeping up with the change, or what it does to past generations, that sort of thing. Also, you can't talk about the Jazz Age without talking about the excessiveness of that generation, and the effects of the excessive wealth and indulgence, what that had on the individual. Fitzgerald is often considered one of the lost generation, a term coined by Ezra Pound. Yeah, Ezra Pound, commonly grouping together a number of American authors who lived for a time overseas following World War I, who just felt kind of disillusioned with the American dream. And a lot of Fitzgerald's work does kind of explore the loss of the American dream. So I keep saying this over and over again. He was a modern author. Modernism is a literary genre that flourished between 1890 to 1940-ish. Again, it's hard to pin down really the lifespan of a literary genre, but that's the best that I could come up with. As a genre, it really intensified following World War I. What was it? Well, modernists were sort of disillusioned by the assurances once provided by society, disillusioned by religion, disillusioned by politics, disillusioned by the concepts of family, the concepts of morality, those sorts of things. And it really does make sense why they might have been disillusioned, and it's because of what they had just been through, which even if they didn't fight in World War I, they were certainly aware of the massive death toll that war incurred. And so the world was kind of broken to them, and so they didn't really know how to process that. And so this is where their kind of their philosophies came from. Like the realists that came before the modernists, they valued what they could see and what was tangible. They saw the world as a very realistic and harsh place. But unlike the realists who saw the brutal, harsh world as something beautiful, the modernists saw the ugliness of a harsh and brutal world. It's just kind of commonly inherent in that. So yeah, in other words, realists, they saw the beauty in realism. They championed the common man. Modernists, kind of as a reaction to the realists, they saw ugliness in realism. They wept for the common man. All right, some of the writing styles that you see in modernism. This is a period that saw a lot of experimentation in prose, a lot more than realism from romanticism before that. This is where we see our first stream of consciousness writing, which those of you unfamiliar with that is writing in which a character's perceptions, and this doesn't isn't necessarily a character's perceptions. It could be a narrator's or an author speaking, but it's writing in which character, narrator's perceptions, thoughts, and memories are presented in an apparent random form without regard for logical sequence or chronology or syntax. Stream of consciousness writing doesn't really take into consideration how well, the kind of the I don't know, the strict forms of, here's a character speaking to another character, now the character is thinking of something, now the character is thinking of something in the past. It just kind of all blurs together. Often such writing makes no distinction between various levels of reality, such as dreams from memories, from imaginative thoughts, or from real sensory perception, things the character is actually seeing. It's a very difficult style of writing to describe, so I've provided you with a couple of really good examples. If you click on the page right below this video, you'll see an example of stream of consciousness from Great Gatsby, and then a really extreme example of stream of consciousness from James Joyce's Ulysses. All right. As I said, I've got a couple of additional videos I need you to watch. There's a mini biography. It's less than 4 minutes long on F. Scott Fitzgerald. And then please watch the crash course video that I've uploaded here on the Roaring Twenties. All right, that's it for this intro to the Great Gatsby and Modernism. Thank you for watching. Feel free to watch again, and I'll see you in class.